Hi, it's Tanya Williams here again from A Child-Free Happily Ever After. So I wrote the book earlier this year, and it was launched as a bestseller on Amazon, which is very exciting. As part of the ongoing conversation and the ongoing child-free conversation, I'm going to be interviewing women about their choices when it comes to deciding to be child-free over the coming weeks and months. And today I'm going to be talking to Sharon Moller. Now, Sharon is child-free by choice, and we are going to have a bit of a chat about her choices, why she chose to be child-free, the implications of that in her life, and we'll start to do a bit of a deep dive into maybe how that's affected some of the other choices that she may have made in life as well. So we're just waiting for Sharon to pop on. So if you are going to, if you are interested in having a chat at any stage about your particular choices, then please get in touch with me via direct message. I do want to chat to all sorts of women. So not just women who are child-free, I want to chat to women who are perhaps childless, so they couldn't have children for whatever reason, and get to understand your story. I also want to chat to happy mums and mums that may have regretted their decision to have children as well. It is quite a big conversation, this child-free topic. There are lots of different angles. There are lots of different subtopics that sort of fall within that. So I really want to bring this conversation to life, because I know in my experience, a lot of child-free women like myself have experienced a lot of negativity and a lot of judgment around our choices to be child-free. So the reason that I wrote the book was to really start to try and change that dialogue in society, so we can move from being judged and criticized to having that support of the women around us. So I'm just going to try and grab Sharon now, and hopefully we can connect her on camera here, and we can start this. Just give it a minute for this to add. This is take 2 today. Here we go. It's connecting. This is looking very bright. There we go. Hello. How are you?
Oh gosh, sorry about that.
That's okay. The joys of technology, right?
I know. Oh goodness. Thank God for husbands.
So it's really great to chat to you, Sharon. So before we sort of dive into your story, I just want to share with anyone watching a bit about how we came to meet, which was really through the book. And I know you reached out to me on social media. I remember you giving me some great feedback around the book, and your thoughts on the messaging and so forth in there. And Sharon and I actually met in real life a couple of weeks ago. So we've been connected on Facebook, and we actually went to an event together. It's always really great to meet someone that you know through social media and actually get to meet them in real life. So it was really nice to get to know you a little bit better.
Yes, you too.
A couple of weeks ago at that event.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's amazing what Facebook and technology does these days, and who you can meet. So
yeah, and it's all about bringing people together and connecting people at the end of the day.
Yes.
So Sharon, can you just start off by sharing a little bit about your story? So, and how old you are, a bit about your background perhaps, and then we'll start to sort of delve into why you made this decision to be child-free.
Sure. So I'm originally from Christchurch, New Zealand. I've been living...
We won't hold that against you.
Well,
only joking, of course.
I've been here just as long, so I'm almost converted to an Aussie these days now anyway.
Okay.
So, anyway. But I live in Brisbane. I'm 38 years old. So I grew up as an only child. My mum had me actually when she was 16 years old. My dad was 18 years old at the time, so obviously fairly young, and they weren't actually together as such either. So I pretty much grew up majority of the time just me and mum. And then I guess sort of during that period I had a stepfather. Unfortunately, I was sexually abused by him up until about the age of 10 years old. And after that time, my mother actually turned into an alcoholic. So I found at that time, at sort of 10 to sort of 12 years old, it was almost like we had this role reversal. So I was more the mother and she was the daughter kind of thing. And, you know, she was always obviously going to the pub and getting me to look after all the kids. So I've always been around lots of children and I love kids. But I guess as time went by, I realised that, you know, they weren't really for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess sort of from there at the age of, well, I was 24 and I got married. I was divorced by 26, and at that time,
Wow. Okay.
children never actually came up for us. So I'd never really sort of thought about it too much. I don't know if it was just because the age we were at the time. He was maybe a little bit older than me, but it actually never ever came up.
Yeah.
And then
It's interesting that you've never had that conversation even before you got married.
no, because I think we met when I was about, I must have been sort of close to 20. So
Yep. So
yeah,
pretty young.
yeah, so
Yeah.
2021, and yeah, I guess we were too busy partying and that sort of thing. And that was the process of actually at that time when I actually moved to Australia as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we were just too busy having fun and I guess, you know, traveling around Australia kind of thing that the idea of kids never really came up.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think back now, it's yeah a little bit strange because then I
Yeah.
met my current husband, and so I actually remarried at the age of 28. We've been
Yeah.
married for 10 years, and actually when I met AJ, the conversation kind of naturally came up that actually both of us didn't really want children.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, to find someone, but it was funny because when I met him, I sort of thought, oh, maybe this is a guy I could maybe have a kid with. But
Yeah.
I think once I sort of deep down, I knew that it just wasn't for me. So
Yeah.
I think as well, a part of it sort of came about where, you know, for my childhood, my trauma, what I grew up, the environment, I guess I kind of grew up around. Everyone was always drinking, partying, that type of thing. I guess, you know, when you've got a mother that's, you know, in her early 20s kind of thing, then that's what all her friends are doing anyway. So for me,
Yeah.
I just wanted to get out. I knew there was something better out there for me. So at one stage, I sort of thought, oh, I'd love to be a young mum. You know, a young mum's cool. And but then as time went by, at 16, you know, 15, 16, my friends were having kids. And
Really?
yeah. So yeah, a couple of my really good friends, they were pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 16. And, you know, I saw them going through it. And one of them I was godmother to. Um, and yeah, it was obviously hard for them. And I think the other thing was, you know, they ended up being single mums. You know, the boyfriends, they're so young, they didn't want to be a part of it. And so here's
Yeah.
these young girls, you know, bringing up these children themselves. And, you know, their parents would help. Like my grandparents brought me up a lot of the time. Every weekend I would stay with them, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I guess just sort of down the track, I started seeing, you know, what my friends were going through, and I was having way too much fun, as you do when, you know, you're 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
be living your
And
life.
look, it certainly sounds like when you've had a bit of a tough childhood, and it sounds like that really did have an impact on the decisions that you made about the choice to be child free as you grew up and move through your life, I suppose.
Yeah, so I guess as I got older, and especially I guess when I got to the age when I met my current husband, AJ, was when, so I would have been, yeah, I was about 28 when we got married. And I guess at that time is when I actually started thinking, should I be having kids? And plus, we're at that age where I guess everyone started asking us as well. And
Yeah.
I started, I guess, thinking a bit
Sharon,
more.
had you had a lot of that before then? Had you had a lot of people asking you, even in your first marriage, when are you guys going to have kids? Was that a conversation that was coming, or a question that was coming up a lot?
Not really, not back then. I think
Mm-hmm.
because I was like the first out of my friends to actually be married, get married kind
Yeah.
of thing, and be in quite a serious sort of relationship. So the rest of my friends were still, you know, young and partying, that type of thing, or I had the friends that already had the kids. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Back then, no one sort of really asked. I don't recall his parents ever really questioning it too much. And his sister even had a baby. So I think once the sister had the
Yeah.
baby and she was younger than us, that the pressure kind of got taken off us as well.
Yeah. So how soon into your current marriage then, did you guys have that conversation as to, look, do we want to have children? Was it fairly early on, or was it sort of closer to when you actually got married?
It was fairly early on. It was probably within sort of the first, we actually met and then we were sort of engaged after 3 months.
Oh,
and
wow.
Then, yeah,
Cool.
and then we stayed engaged for a year and then got married. So I guess within those sort of first sort of 3 months, we did have that discussion. And I guess I must admit, AJ's a very open person, so he's very communicative with how he feels and talks about things. And we were always, I've always wanted to help children. So I've seen, seen poverty in the world, and I've always thought there's children out there that need help, and I'm more than happy to help them. So I guess, so we actually thought maybe we could adopt. So we actually went to a meeting, and this was within sort of the first year and a half. Actually went to a meeting to see what the process was and things like that, but we found it could be up to a 10-year wait.
Wow, that long.
It was very costly.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't be who I am now and then continue this life of, not having children up till, I'm close to 40, and then suddenly having a baby or a 3-year-old dumped on me. Like, I guess we thought about it and we're like, well, if being realistic, if that's the process, I don't know if we could cope with that. And I guess I didn't have.
Because obviously you've got your lifestyle set up, you've got your life how you like it, and then all of a sudden you have this change after 10 years would be a massive culture shock.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess for me, I've never had that yearning to be a mother. I've never been like, oh my gosh, I really want to be a mom. It was just, I guess for me, it was more I could provide a nice, safe place for a child. And I guess that was a little bit sort of when I dove a little deeper into it, where I sort of thought, how could I protect a child? Like, after what happened to me, and I was also raped at 15. So for me, I had a lot of those issues where it was like, how can I bring a child into this world and try and keep it safe from those things from happening? And I guess as well, I don't have a very good relationship with my mother even now. And back then it was almost like she blamed me for everything that happened. Like, there was sort of that feeling. So she also had a bad relationship with her mother. So at the back of my mind, I was like, well, am I just going to continue that cycle as well?
Yeah, which is probably quite a natural thought to have, right? Because you think, well, it's happened before, it's happened twice. Am I going to perpetuate that, or am I able to break that cycle? Is that even possible?
Yeah.
So, I mean, having a child is such a big decision, and I think it's great that you guys had that conversation so early on in your relationship, so you could really go, okay, are we on the same page here? Do we both want the same things out of life? And I think you're similar to me in that I don't hate kids either. I give to lots of children's charities. I had a World Vision child for 16 years, and it was all about where I could and I can have some sort of a positive impact on a child's life. That does really I suppose mean a lot. But again, it was just like, I'm not anti-kids, I'm just anti-kids for me. And it sounds like you're quite similar in that respect. It's not about hating kids, it's just about they're just not right for your life.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, and AJ, like, kids adore AJ. They're more inclined to come up to him than they are to me. I'm more the serious one, the boring one, apparently. And I'm fine with that.
My husband's the same. Kids love my husband, and I think he has this childlike quality, or maybe his mentality's a bit more like a child, I suppose. And kids seem to relate to him quite well. Like, if we have, say, a barbecue and there's kids there, usually if you can't find Shane, he's probably in the lounge room watching cartoons with them.
Yeah.
Like, it's that,
it's the same.
Yeah, and I love that. I'm not the one in there doing it, but he loves that. He loves that interaction. But at the same time, it's like, okay, now it's time to go home, and then we can get on with our day or our night. So it is a very different interaction, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I guess I have a bit of a time limit as well.
Yeah.
For a period, I'm like, all right, you can go now. I'll feed them up, I'll fry them up with sugar and things like that and send them back to their mum.
I usually do that. Here you go, I'll feed you lollies and then send you home to your mum.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a godmother as well. So, a lot of my friends have kids, that sort of thing. And, but it's just not for us.
So when we were sort of chatting beforehand, you were sharing a bit more of your story with me, Sharon. You had an interesting thing happen, I suppose, with a friend and IVF. Can you share that situation with us? Because I think this is a really unique situation, and I think it'd be great to actually for other people have an understanding of what that looks like. So can you maybe sort of elaborate a bit more about what that situation was?
Yeah, so again, it's not something I ever thought of doing. And, I know people that have gone through IVF. And I guess for me, I never ask people, I never say, oh, when are you having kids or anything like that, because that's personal and people have their different reasons, whether it's medically they can't have it or they choose not to have it. And I don't feel that that's up to me to be prying and asking those questions unless they want to tell me. I did have a friend who was actually a bit older, and I knew her sort of background story. And it's funny because she's not like a close friend of mine. And I think that's where I was able to sort of consider it. So what had happened is she was having trouble with the IVF process. And it was basically the case that her eggs were too old. And so I decided that I would be an egg donor for her. If I was sort of at the stage where I was like, oh, that's if I've got any eggs to give. But so that was actually quite an eye-opening experience. My husband and I sat down long and hard and discussed it. And she wasn't pushy or anything like that as well. So she would sort of let me be. And AJ gave me like the 20 questions, why do you want to do this? What happens if this happens? And what happens when the baby's born? You see the baby, how are you going to feel? Is there going to be some motherly instinct that's going to kick in? Or do you want nothing to do with it? So it was quite a process. But in saying that, for me, it actually felt like the right thing to do for this person. So my husband was like, well, what if it was this person? I was like, no, I wouldn't do it for that person. What if it's this one? Yes, I would maybe consider it. Anyway.
As you said, it brings up a lot of questions, doesn't it? Because what happens, and does that change your relationship with that person? What happens when the child is born? Like it does really raise a lot of questions.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess when I started actually going through the process of, because I had to do the initial part of the IVF, doing the injections at the exact same time each day, having to do this nasal spray at the exact same time each day. And all during this period, this is when, my husband and I had a 10-year vow renewal. It was his birthday, it was my birthday. So we're like drinking, things like that. It's social outings. And I was just like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So I had at our vow renewal, we'd been drinking and my time was like 7:30, I think it was. So I had 2 phones on alarms to make sure that it was the exact same time, that type of thing. So once I sort of got through that process, obviously with the medication, your hormones, that really started to have an impact on me. And then I did start questioning things again. I was like, oh my gosh, why am I doing this? Am I doing the right thing? Is she going to be a good mum? Which I knew she would be a great mum, but I guess my husband and I were always like, oh, the world's already overpopulated. So I started to sort of question and doubt myself, but then I actually brought it back and went, well, hang on, this is for her. It's not about me. It's for her and what I can do for her. So did the whole, obviously went into theatre, had surgery, and then came out after that, and all went fine. The procedure afterwards was awful, And all I could think was, I wouldn't wish this upon anyone, like any woman that has to go through
Right.
IVF. So it gave me a very different outlook to the process of friends or people
Yeah.
that go through it. Is it's tough, it's emotional. And I was only doing one little part of it as well. So, yeah, so once I sort of did that bit, you know, you go to a counsellor and everything where, you know, the four of us are going together for counselling sessions, and they're asking you those questions. Well, what happens when the baby is born? And it's funny because I was a bit like, I didn't feel maternal about it. I was like, I actually said to her, and she knows what I'm like, so I actually said, look, I don't need to see my whole Facebook feed with photos of your kid. I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as your kid's healthy, I don't need to see poop photos. Or, you know, what your feed ends up being sometimes.
Yeah.
I was like, so, yeah, so I guess I was a bit honest in that regard. And then, and yeah, I must admit she was quite accepting of that fact. And she was like, I totally understand. And yeah. But I guess the outcome I did find out recently. So she did fall pregnant, which was great. So my eggs did their job. But unfortunately she miscarried.
Oh, okay, that's a shame. Yeah.
But,
so having been through that process, would you ever consider doing that again for somebody, knowing now how involved it actually is? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think there's,
tough. Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine.
And just the pressure on my husband as well. Like, you know, I'm very lucky that he was so supportive in that process, because I don't know how many husbands would be if you've decided not, you know, to be child free. So the fact that he came to every appointment with me, he was just like, you know, I need to make sure that you're okay and things like that. So, but after I did it, I just went, there's no way I could do that again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive commitment on your part, and certainly a really brave and beautiful thing that you've been able to do for your friend. And as you said, your part was successful, so at least you know that you've done everything right, and unfortunately, it just has an outcome. Yeah,
absolutely.
Did you at any stage throughout this, had you had any contact with your mother? Was she aware of what you were doing?
Yeah, so part of the process is you've got to fill out this massive medical history. And I obviously didn't know my whole family, because they're asking about your grandparents, aunts and uncles, things like that. So I had to ring my mum and get the details. And my mother is not maternal. She's not motherly one bit. And the way she put it, she was like, oh, well, I wonder what it looks like. I wonder if it looks like, you know, whatever my maiden name was. And I was just like, really? Like, could you not be like, oh, that's a nice thing to do? But no.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she actually never followed up with me on the surgery. I think she thought at first I wasn't really that serious about it. Yeah, so, yeah, it was almost like she didn't really care kind of thing. And then I told my dad, and he was actually really good. Because I think as he's got older, he's had a couple of kids, and he was like, oh, that's actually a really nice thing for you to do.
Oh, that's nice.
So he was actually a lot more respondent to it, as opposed to to my mother.
Have, over the years, given the relationship that you do have with your mum, have you had any pressure, or has she at any point, or even your father, said to you, look, you know, you should have children, you're missing out? Has there been any of that from your parents at any stage?
My mum's never really questioned me about it. She's always sort of going on about her other friends' daughters and their kids. But yeah, I guess because we just don't have a very good relationship, and there's one girl in the family which is a very good friend of hers daughter, and she's always sort of taken on the role of being mother to her. So it's almost like she was the daughter that she never had, as opposed to me. That's how I sort of felt. And then I think one time a few years back, she made a comment like, oh, when I sort of actually was quite stern and said, we're not having kids, she's like, oh, you never know, you'll change your mind. And then I think
Yeah.
around that time, the same conversation happened with my dad, and my dad was a bit the same. Oh, you've got a bit of
Yeah.
time, you'll change your mind. And I was like, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
think it seems to be the first thing that most people say, particularly if you're at an age where you still do have, you know, time to make those choices, that people think, oh yeah, okay. Once you get to that point where it's, you know, and I don't know why that's always the go-to question or the go-to statement of you'll change your mind or you're going to miss out if you don't and so forth. I think maybe it's just such an ingrained reaction because that's how, you know, our parents have been brought up, their parents, and you know, and so forth and so forth. This has been going on for generations, that it sort of becomes habit, I suppose, for them to almost to be like, oh, well, that's just what I should say. And I've always, you know, struggled with that question, saying that my parents were always really good and really supportive in that, and I never had that pressure. But it's interesting where you get that, oh, you'll change your mind when you're this old and when you're that old and when your friends are having kids, and it was just like. And it was more so from parents' friends rather than parents.
that's what I was
who are
going to
looking
say,
in.
actually. That's what I probably tend to get. I tend to get a lot of, and I guess because my mum was young, so they're all starting to sort of say now, oh, shouldn't Sharon be having kids? So I've started to get it a little bit lately. Like if I go back home and see some of her family friends, they might make the comment to me or to AJ. We did
And
get
how do you respond to that comment, Sharon, when they ask it?
I'll sort of turn around and be like, oh, it's not for us. And then they'll go, oh, but, you know, they're great. You know, they're amazing. And I'm like, and I guess I kind of just shut up because I just think I'm not going to win this. And I think, you know, they're my mum's friends as well. And, you know, but they're on to their grandchildren. So it's because they're on to their grandchildren that they're all delightful. And I'm like, well, I remember that time when they were actually your baby. So I guess I don't really, I kind of just fob it off a little bit. But if I sort of get strangers or friends now, I'm a lot more stern. Whereas before I used to be quite nervous about saying it. And I think at that time I didn't know anyone that was child-free. Whereas now I've met a whole community of child-free people. And I guess it's made me sort of be a bit more confident. And I think as I've got older as well, I don't give a shit what people think,
I love
to be honest. I'm like, whatever. And I think as I'm getting older, people realise, I don't know, some people look at me and think I'm younger, so they assume I've got kids. But, we did get it a little bit from AJ's dad more so. At the beginning going, oh, when are you going to give me some grandkids? And then finally I had to sit down with the mother-in-law and go, it's not happening. But she
Does he have brothers or sisters that have children?
Yes. So he's actually got AJ's the oldest. He's got two younger brothers. And so one of them actually had a child at about 16, 17. So AJ sort of had grown up with like a child in the family, but more to him like a baby brother, I guess. And then and then the other brothers had like two kids, so we're totally off the hook.
No pressure.
No pressure. It's all gone. So
okay, I'm gonna wrap it up soon, but I suppose before I do, are there one or two tips that you can share with anyone watching that may be struggling to make that decision? So if they're on the fence and they're not sure, do I have kids, do I not have kids, or I really don't know what to do, is there anything you can share with them that perhaps might make that decision a bit easier?
I guess if you sort of associate yourself with friends that maybe have kids, I guess because I, you know, grew up when I was younger with these young children, so I saw that it was hard. And then my friends at 16 having babies, so I've always seen what is going on. So I guess in that instance, I would surround yourself by kids.
So you suggest that if they see both sides of it, they can make a more informed decision,
I think so. But in saying that, I've got friends that were like, oh, I never wanted to be a mum and I hate kids. And then they had their own and they're like, oh, my own are okay. So
Yeah.
go figure. But I think if you get that exposure of being around children to
Yeah.
really see maybe what it's like. Like I've got a couple of friends that have got 6
Yeah.
kids each, and I played mum
Oh,
for
okay.
24 hours. One of them.
Yeah.
So it's enough to put you off.
But I definitely agree with you, and that's one of the things that I did write about in the book, because the whole second half of the book is how to come to some of those decisions, and there's some exercises in there that share that. And some of those certainly does include spending 24 hours a day with a mum, you know, spending quality time with kids, doing all these different sorts of scenarios and stuff to see all aspects of it, because unless you're living and breathing that life where you get to see the other side of it, because I think so often, and that comes to anything in life, we only see a certain part of it, don't we? So it's not until you actually see the other side and go, it's just not all champagne and roses. It's, you know, it's really damn hard to be a mum.
Yeah.
And unless you really dive into that world, you don't really know from the outside looking in, do you?
No, definitely not. So yeah, I guess that's probably the main tip that I would give. The second one would be do what feels right for you. Like,
Yeah.
don't get caught up in what everyone else is doing, and what everyone else is saying. And, you know, if you're not sure about it, and I guess the one thing I did learn about the IVF process is you really don't want to leave it too late to be having children, because to even have to go through that IVF process was awful. So I think if you make a decision, not saying everyone should be going out having kids at like 35 or whatever, but it's probably a better age as opposed to waiting till later just for that process, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I think just, know deep down what is right for you and don't be afraid to own it.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, and that's certainly something that I've always held true. And I know a lot of other child-free women. Some women have been very adamant from a very young age, like myself, that no, it's not what I want. I'm not going to do something that I don't want to do for someone else, just to keep them happy. I think at the end of the day, you only have one life, right? And you've got to do and be true to yourself, and what's going to make you happy, because we don't get a do-over. You know,
no, exactly.
This is it. You know,
and I think if you're questioning things about it, like for me, what happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? Yeah, it's all what if, but I would rather be what if than have the kids and something happens and then having to deal with that. And I mean, the reality of whether that happens is hard to say, but for me, I'd rather.
Well, we could say what if about everything in life, though, can't we? What if I take this job or that job, and what if I travel here or travel there? Like, absolutely everything in life, we can have that what if conversation around. So, I think the fact that the child conversation is such a massive conversation. You can't just change your mind and take those shoes back that you bought that you shouldn't have bought, or whatever. It has this massive impact on your life. So I think, as you said, to be really, you need to be 100% sure that that's what you want, to have children, because it is such a massive thing that will change your entire life.
Oh, exactly. And that's why when the lady was doing the IVF, one of my things was, so you can't just hand the baby back to me, can you? Like, just if you decide that it's crying too much, don't bring it back to me. So I was a bit like, double checking, going, there's no way it's going to come back at my end, is it? But no. So you've got to be sure.
Okay. Well, really, really great to chat to you, Sharon. I think you've got a really unique story, and I think it's great. It's really brave that you want to share that story with others as well. So thank you very much for taking the time this afternoon and sharing that with us.
No,
I'm sure that anyone that watches this will actually get so much from hearing everything that you've been through, and the decisions that you've made and the impacts that they've had. So thank you.
Yep.
And no doubt we will catch up again soon.
Absolutely.
And, but in the meantime, have a great child-free weekend.
Yes, I will.
And I'll do the same.
Sounds good. I'll have wine later.
Oh, look, I'm going to go and have some wine now, I think. So
Good point. Good point.
Let's do that.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Sharon. Great to chat to you.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
See ya. see you everyone that's been on the live today. You know, thanks for joining. So you'll still be able to see the video once I go off air. So please go and check it out and share it with your friends if you think they need to hear some of these conversations as well. So we will be doing another one within the next week and chatting to another fabulous child-free woman about her choices and her decisions. So please stay tuned and make sure you stay on our Facebook page for updates and to hear more about what's happening in our child-free world. So thank you everyone. Have a great weekend, and me signing off with my famous catchphrase of never let anyone dull your sparkle.